Hello out there, and today on the channel we have got another new Kershaw, another 2020 design from them, and this is called the Airlock. And first of all, I've got to thank my buddy Big Red EDC for sending me this one and a number of other Kershaws to check out and give me a good idea of what they're doing this year. So many thanks to him, link to his great channel down below. But this Airlock, it appealed to me for two reasons. I had interest in it. One, because I really just like the look of it, and at a budget price of $22, I had some curiosity. But more than that, I was curious about the steel, believe it or not. And the reason for that is that this is part of the starter series, and it's running 4CR14 steel. And guys, you know I'm not a steel snob. I've never really tried to be all that particular when it comes to steel. You know, I'm way more focused on if a knife is going to be able to do the things that I needed to do, which, you know, realistically isn't always that much on a day-to-day basis. So I have, though, sort of avoided things that were lesser than 8CR. You know, a lot of people don't like 8CR. Me, I have no problem with it at all, but anything beneath that, it just sort of seems like is going extreme budget, and I've seen like shortcuts in other areas of the knives as well whenever you get a knife of like that lesser caliber steel. You know, and so I just haven't gotten it. And I was curious, just looking at this design and how like great and exciting it was, you know, if this was going to be a decent knife and it was going to be one that I could actually use and get the stuff done that I need to get done. Like, what is 4CR14 going to be like on this knife? And guys, so this video is not going to be a laboratory test where I tell you 100% whether this is a good steel or a bad steel. The point is it going to be good on this model for me, for what I need? And I'm hoping that the answer is yes, because, you know, the lines of this knife and the design, they're ones that I already really like. You might have already noticed a distinct resemblance to the Launch 11. You know, you can see you have that big cutout. You have a very similar, let me see if we can get these next to each other, a very similar kind of blade shape, you know, a little bit larger size, a little bit larger frame on the Airlock. And honestly, I think that even though the Launch 11 is an extreme home run for me, I think that this larger size here on the Airlock is preferable. I mean, this is the perfect size. This is the size that I sort of wish that the Launch 11 was. So there's a lot of good things going for it. Let's go through a couple just like specs and design characteristics, and then we'll get into some of the testing that I did and come back for a recap. So other size comparisons, you saw the Launch 11. Here is a mini griptilian. This is the OG mini grip, actually. So you can see what we're running with on the Airlock is right around a looks like 2.75 inch cutting edge. Am I right there? Or is it 3 and change? Man, my addition is terrible. 1, 2. Yeah, so actually it's a little bit longer than a 3-inch cutting edge, and I really can't count. All right, so there's that. Here's the paramilitary 2. And actually this will be a really good comparison because the cutting edge is pretty similar, but then you see that long extension from that blade to handle ratio on the PM2. 943 is right here. And then I'm just going to bust out a CRKT that is going to be coming to the channel finally in a bit. This is the Anara, new for 2020. Haven't gotten around to doing much with this knife, so we're finally going to get to it, but here's a size comparison with that if you're familiar with that knife. All right. The Airlock, though, it has the starter series, which is the, you know, the extreme budget line from Kershaw. It has the qualifications that like the steel carries with that starter series, but the rest of it, honestly, I haven't had any kind of issue with. I haven't seen anything that really marks it as just a lesser caliber kind of knife. Yeah, we have these like plastic molded handle scales, but we have a number of different layers in that mold, which makes it really nice and ergonomic and comfortable. It's not sharp, so, you know, that molding was done well. There is this like decorated pivot, if you take a look right here, and I don't really need all that like design around there. Just the fact that that's plastic sort of makes it, I don't know, less cool, but regardless, they did a good job with the scales. They did a really good job with the speed safe mechanism. You know, more and more with Kershaw's budget knives, the speed safe gets better and better. And I remember a few knives from like 3, 4, 5 years ago that were more expensive than this one coming in at 22 bucks, more expensive than this, and they just weren't as clean and crisp as this. So I don't feel like I'm getting budget action on this knife at all. Talking about the blade, besides the steel, we have a bead blast that looks pretty decent and holds up somewhat well. There's going to be some scratches in it just from use, but that's going to happen. The best thing about this blade is the way that the jimping is done, where there's a little bit of it, sure, and it grips the thumb pretty well, but there is this rise. You can see this little step up after the jimping that sort of really helps you like dig in and get comfortable. And aesthetically, it's not something that hurts the knife, but if you take a look at jimping on like the Launch 11, you know, most knives don't have that. So you're getting this just like extra spot to really just confirm where you're supposed to be. So ergos on this knife were really good, really good. The grind on this is, I think it's hollow. It's not really listed anywhere. If it's hollow, it's a slight hollow grind. It definitely like feels hollow, but I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. But sometimes I feel it and I'm like, oh, that's a flat grind. But I'm pretty close to sure that it is a hollow grind. So it's going to be interesting to see how this knife actually cuts and performs and if it holds up. I mean, it does feel very thin behind the edge. So potentially we're dealing with something that, even though we're rocking a very budget steel, even in a dull condition, it might be able to slice. So that'll be interesting to see. And then also with this clip, it is not a deep carry, but again, it has that that sort of callback to the Launch 11, where it's sort of a sister knife. You know, it has a lot of similar things. This is a clip that I haven't seen Kershaw use really before these two models. So, you know, let's have a lot of similarities there. All right, so that's really all I got, guys. We're going to get into the testing, and we're going to see, you know, again, not is 4CR14 a good steel, but is it one that will be functional and usable for what I need it to be in my day-to-day carry? And then how's it going to resharpen? Maintenance on this. Is it going to be good? Let's find out. All right, guys. So we are here in the carport with this Kershaw Airlock, and we're going to see what it can do and how long it can hold up. So we are dealing with 4CR13 steel here. How much worse it is than 8CR13 MOV, I don't know. I do know that I have a crap ton of cardboard because all the stuff for the baby's room has been shipped in the past couple weeks. And so between this and the Medford that I'm carrying this week to test out, I'm going to be taking care of a lot of this stuff today. So I don't know how much of it is going to be able to get done with this, because I don't know how long this edge is going to hold. So don't take this as a black and white measurement of how well this steel can do, but just in this scenario, how is this knife going to perform? Let's see how long it lasts, all right? All right, guys, so at this point, this edge has a lot of use on it, a lot of wear. It certainly is not performing the way that it was when it was sharp, and you can see it's still pretty dirty. It has been a few days, actually, since I did all the testing with it. So what we're going to do now is clean it up. We're going to see how this bounces back, especially with the bead blast finish. We're going to see how quick and easy and sharp this 4CR13 blade can get. And yeah, then we'll have a overall kind of wrap-up. So just wiping it down with some prep pads. What I'm concerned about with the bead blast is just that some of the lines and the wear will be permanent, and it doesn't at first glance look like that's going to be the case. Some of the PVD kind of coating and the other finishes that Kershaw uses, they don't have the durability that and they don't hold up. And so while those might be very attractive looking, once you use them even at all, you know, you start to lose that that good look. And so just the basic wear marks from, you know, cutting through boxes and tape and whatnot that pops up on a blade, like that can really hurt the finish on some of those Kershaws. But it looks like here that we are in pretty good shape. That just all of it pops right off and is removed easily. So yeah, so this blade is going to look good, but the real question is, how will it re-sharpen? The sharpening system that I always use is the Spyderco Sharp Maker, and my skills when it comes to using this are dog shit. But that said, even I can get a decent and usable and completely functional edge on just about every knife that I own. And some of the harder steels, that kind of stuff, I tend to stay away from just because I don't have the skills or the equipment. Really, what I don't have is the patience to be good at this. And so what I found is some of the softer steels are just really agreeable when it comes to me being able to sharpen them on this thing. I don't have any set, like this is exactly the way that it works every time. You have the stones here that create a 40-degree edge, so that's inclusive, so 20 each side, and then over here it's 15 on each side, and I'll sort of go back and forth and see what works. And depending on how beat up the knife is, you know, sometimes it takes a little bit more time. Sometimes it's just a quick few strokes on like the 15 to 30 degree side so that you can just touch it up. That's usually what I prefer to do, is just keep it in a good position instead of like doling it all the way down and then trying to put, you know, a lot more work into restoring the edge. So let's see how it works with this. I'm doing it at an angle so I don't hit the tripod, so we'll see how it goes. And if I'm being really honest, a lot of times when I use this system, I'll do like 4, 6, 8 strokes on one side and then the same on the other, just to avoid having to go back and forth so many times. So you get the point. All right, guys, I just started sharpening this knife a couple minutes ago. I had stopped the video just to change out the stones from the coarse sharpening stones to the more fine ones. And that was going to be like the first round of sharpening. And then after that, I was going to test and see where we were. Literally, what you saw, that's the amount of sharpening that I have done on this knife so far, after all of the work and all the testing that I did, right? Okay, so just before I started with the white stone, and I actually haven't started, but before I was going to, I just tested it on myself, and we're already not like perfect, but we're already able to shave some hair. So there's a functional kind of edge back on this knife to some degree, right? So then I got paper, and this is going to suck on camera just because of the angle that I have to cut it at, but I mean, this will get much sharper than it is right now, but that was literally 2 minutes after half an hour of cutting with it, and cutting with it long after it should have been used, you know, like long after the edge was compromised to some extent and really not performing at 100%. So the point here is that this has been stupidly stupidly easy to get back going again. And anyone with even the most simple lay person with no kind of background in sharpening with any sort of system like this, whether it's a sharp maker or a Lansky, any kind of guided system, will be able to maintain this knife, I think, very easily and keep a very functional tool. So yeah, I'm shocked. I'm going to keep sharpening and go all the way with it, but this is definitely a very good sign. All right, guys. So as you can tell, just from my experience with using this knife and sharpening it, and just the ease of that entire process, I'm very impressed. I can't say at all if 4CR14 is a good steel, if it's a bad steel. That's not what I'm here to do. Obviously, there are a lot more factors that go into whether or not that's true than just the steel itself, and definitely how it's executed really matters. But what I can say is that on this knife, I've had zero issues, and I'm excited about this knife now, and more than happy to use this and feel comfortable and confident just in this knive's ability to get everything done that I need to, and get, brought back to life, that edge in no time, like literally no time. So yeah, it's a pretty cool thing for a $22 knife, that is for sure. And it definitely, while I'm not going to go out and start buying every piece of crap that's out there that's in like the most junk mystery steel that there is, it's opening some doors in my mind, at least, to some possibilities for companies to do things that, I'll be a little more receptive to in the future. Kershaw is going to start putting out more knives in 4CR14. If they do it like this, I'm going to buy them, and for 22 bucks, for 22 bucks, this is a pretty darn good knife. Pretty darn good knife. So when we're talking about the budget blade series, I mean, it's going to be hard to beat this one no matter what you got. I know there's a lot of knives with D2 on there that are as good as it gets, but man, this isn't going to hold you back by any means. So definitely a good one to check out. Any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, let me know down below. Do you have standards when it comes to steel? Is there one steel that you won't get, or one steel that you need to have, or something that, is just a red flag that will keep you from purchasing a knife that maybe you would want to reconsider? Let me know in the comments down below. I'll talk with you soon, guys. Thanks again.